Let's get this going. Supposed to be dancing. I can't dance, but thank you for watching me try. It's gonna be awesome. This is the One-Off Technology Podcast with your host, Roy Richardson. Each week we cover topics in the news and how they affect you. Sit back, relax, and open your mind. Hey, this is the One-Off Tech Show Live. This is the live version of the One-Off Technology Podcast. My name is Roy Richardson. I am also known as a tech troublemaker. I do cause trouble. I do try to behave. I'm going to try so hard to behave this episode. I really appreciate you guys coming out and joining. This is going to be awesome today. So today's episode is our Robot Masters, AI and Automation, the Future of Work. So what if what you do right now could be done by a robot? I mean, think about it. I mean, it's already happening. So, I mean, just all these little different ways. So, for example, stores are starting to use RFID, which, by the way, RFID is radio frequency identification. And it's basically a small passive device that says, hey, here I am, here's my barcode. And another way to think of it as a barcode with a radio transmitter. So, you pick up something in the store, it's got a little code on it. It's like, hey, look, I got this. And as you go to the cash register, goes, bleep, it rings you up. And Amazon has gone a step beyond this. Amazon has stores now, physical stores called Amazon Go. And in these stores, they have it set. So there's cameras that are watching you. They have machine learning and AI going on, artificial intelligence. And so it literally knows when you pick up something off the shelf, and it puts it into, they have an app. You scan the app when you go in the store, and it shows the item on your phone. And then as you pick up more items, they show up on the phone. So the cameras are capturing that you picked up items off the shelf, and it's putting it on your phone. It's doing a total. And when you walk out of the store, it charges your Amazon account. What's even crazier is that if you put the item back on the shelf, the app and the machine learning and the cameras know you've put the item back on the shelf. I have some links in my show notes that I'll be posting later so you can go out and see information about these cool things. And then there's Flippy. Flippy's this robot from Miso Robotics, and it's a burger and fry cook robot. White Castle has been testing these out. These robots cost $30,000 each, and Miso Robotics is hoping to get them down to $20,000. But imagine that everybody back behind the counter has been replaced with these robots. It can literally drop fries. A conveyor belt puts fries in the basket. The basket gets dropped in the oil. It cooks the fries, and they're able to flip the burgers. I don't know how it knows when your burger's done. I guess it's a timer type thing. The examples I've seen are all, I will post a video on the show notes for that as well, so you can go out there and see that. But basically, they're cooking these burgers. They're real thin. Of course, if you've ever been to White Castle, you know the burgers are really thin. And so It's really cool watching Flippy flip the burgers. He does a good job. It's kind of scary. But the point being is that, so my after school job when I was a teenager was bagging groceries in a grocery store. And those people that bag groceries can be replaced by robots. And McDonald's has gone and has started putting kiosks in their stores, and you go to the kiosk and you punch in on the screen what you want to order, and you put in money, or you do a credit card or debit card or Apple Pay, Google Pay, and you pay for it, and then a person gives you food. So let's think about this equation. Let's say, oh, by the way, Flippy is looking for investors. So if you happen to have, $20,000 laying around, and you want to invest in the company, I think it's actually $1,000. You can get invested in this company, and if they blow up, hey, you'll be there. You can kind of say, I was there when Bitcoin blew up, and now I'm there when Miso Robotics blew up. So really cool there. But imagine 10 years from now. 10 years. Not very long at all. 10 years from now. 2031. And you go into a fast food restaurant, and everybody is gone from behind the counter. Flippy, flipping burgers, cooking fries, conveyor belts are moving things around. You ordered all your food through a kiosk, or you spoke it into the thing, or you ordered it on your mobile device before you even walked into the store, and you just walk up to the counter, and conveyor belts bag it all up, and you're done, and you leave the store, and there's nobody working. Okay, maybe there's one person working. He's the manager, and his job is to literally make sure things keep running. And he may even know how to fix things if they break, some of the minor things. So, okay. So, what do you do for a living? Stop right now and think about it. I have no idea what I do for a living. Okay. So, I explain things to people that don't understand. Is there anything you currently do that could be replaced by a robot? Anything. Think about it. Can you envision, think in your head, what could a robot do that I'm doing now? Artificial intelligence. Could artificial intelligence replace what you do? I mean, I can ask Alexa for the weather, for Google. These are all artificial intelligence.
73 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly cloudy skies.
And there you go.
Tonight, you can look for rainy weather with a low of 52 degrees.
She's always butting in. I don't know why. Anyway, so what if 20% of your job could be replaced by a robot? What if 60% or 80% of your job could be replaced by a robot? Now, there are some jobs that require intricacies, things like picking strawberries and blueberries. Actually, there are robots in prototype that are being tested to pick strawberries. So, now don't you need manual dexterity there? Can you accomplish that with a robot? What about, maybe you're a welder. Yeah, a welder. Oh, wait. Robots weld in auto manufacturing facilities. So, they also paint cars. They also put the engine in. I'll have a link to a video where BMW shows the automation inside their factories where the robots are welding. They are bolting things down. They're putting in an engine. They're painting a car. All these things are being replaced by robots. And so you might be saying, what are you trying to say here? What are you saying? Well, I'm saying, could you be replaced by a robot? Maybe, but not yet. So let me show you some figures. So by the way, flip my camera here. Here's Flippy. This is Flippy. I was going to show a video, but here's Flippy, and he is getting ready to pull fries out. Okay. Daryl M. West from the Brookings Institute says they believe in 30 years, 1/3 of all working men will not have jobs. Now, Daryl M. West is the author of the book, The Future of Work. And he goes into great detail about how this is even possible. He talks about advances in technology that are continuing to happen every day. He also talks about how, how policies may need to be put in place in order to keep people gainfully employed. And what do? And technology is moving so fast, it's wiping out our basic jobs. Now, those jobs that we have that do not require college degrees. Think about that. The bagger, the cashier, those got replaced by robots and by kiosks and voice technology and conveyor belts and artificial intelligence and machine learning that was able to do those things. Okay, now what? And then, now you may be saying, well, what am I going to do now? And that is a good question. So if entry-level jobs are all replaced by AI and automation and robots, then eventually you're going to have a college degree in order to get the next level jobs. And then potentially, eventually, you have to have a higher degree than that, like a master's or a doctorate, to get jobs after that. Now, this all sounds very dystopian, I know. It's like, oh no, the world is going crazy. And it's hard not to sound or seem that way, but it doesn't have to be that way. But the catch right now is, unless something changes, it's going to widen the income gap. We already have it where you have people in poverty, and technology will expand the haves and have-nots. You already have that issue with broadband technology and the fact that we don't have adequate broadband everywhere, that we don't have high-speed internet everywhere. We have so many people using their phones for internet because it's easier to get internet access on a mobile device than it is to get it in your house. And that's not always possible for this day and age, where all our kids are remote learning half the time, or all our kids are having to go online to complete assignments, even if they go in person every day because they got their Chromebooks and their MacBooks and everything, and they're having to do their homework at home on a computer, and you have to have internet access. So, what are we going to do? Okay. So, as we think about this world and what it's like and what to expect, then the options are we perhaps have to be prepared to retool ourselves. So when I was in high school, I was a bagger in a grocery store, and for a couple years after I graduated, I did that job. They made me a cashier, and then I was a stalker. Not stalker. I'm a stalker. I put people on shelves. It's so fun when you put people on a shelf. Here you go. There you go. You're on a shelf. Oh, wait. I've just sold you, and I'm going to take you off the shelf. No. But what I meant was stalker who puts items on a shelf. And that was my job. And then I went to work for a major retailer in their distribution center, where I put boxes on conveyor belts. Okay, so my first job, I was a cashier, and put stuff on shelves, and I cleaned floors. Yeah, I think those all can be replaced by robots. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then I worked in a distribution center where I put labels on boxes, and then I put the boxes on conveyors, and then the conveyors took all that stuff to the shipping dock and sorted it by barcodes and put them on the right truck. I got a feeling that can be replaced by robots. I'm just thinking out loud. I already know that machine learning was involved in the barcoding process, where it scanned the barcodes and then caused things to slide down to the right conveyor belt to go down to the right truck. Really amazing stuff. I really thought it was cool and stayed there right then. And that was a long time ago. It's probably way more advanced now. But I reached a point where I realized I want to do something different. And I was in the computers at a young age, and I reached a dead end in my job. I needed a way, and I had an epiphany. I want to have more money. I want to be stronger. and I want to be smarter. How can I accomplish that? For me, at the time, it was to join the military. I almost joined the Marines. They wanted me to do NBC, nuclear biological chemical, and I decided that I did not want to glow in the dark every day. So I decided instead I'd go to the National Guard, and I joined the National Guard, and the GI Bill paid for me to go to a technical college. And in that technical college, I learned about computers. I learned about information technology, computer science, and so I learned new skills. And then I later on got a college degree. I got my 4-year degree, bachelor's, and so I kept working. And then I decided I needed to retool a little bit. So then I went and got my master's, and that was I was promoted several times during that whole process. As I learned more, I was promoted. I had certifications that I achieved. And so it was just a process. By the way, I talk with my hands a lot. Hey there, how you doing? Hey, it's nice to see you. I talk with my hands a lot. But anyway, so I learned all these new things in order to continue to move up in my job. Albert Einstein is noted as saying that once you stop learning, you start dying. So what if every 10 years you have to learn brand new skills in order to keep employed? This is the type of world we're heading toward. I know on a previous episode I talked about, my podcast and on my live stream, I talked about how we have a shortage of computer chips, and cars now have at least 25 chips. Some cars have up to 50 computer chips in them. All the Bluetooth and the fuel injection and everything that's in a car these days. And so the point being is that with all this computerization, we live in a world of technology. Once the self-driving, and by the way, it's going to take years to recover from this chip shortage we have, and they've actually halted production on several cars, and you're going to see they're going to focus on the cars that make the most money and put the chips in those, because there's a chip shortage, and they're going to go for the profit over, this is the cheapest car we make and more people buy it, but we can make this one make more money. So, think about that. But once self-driving cars become a commonplace thing, then you're going to see that, wow, I don't need Uber anymore. I don't need taxis. Public transportation now, buses can be self-driving, trains can be self-driving. I don't need drivers anymore because computers and artificial intelligence and machine learning have taught the vehicles how to drive with less mistakes than humans. Not quite there yet, but it's very close. It's very close. And, it's going to be pretty interesting. And I'm actually excited about self-driving cars. If you have a teenager, self-driving cars sound amazing, because then your teenagers are not wrecking because the car's driving itself. Now, not like a Tesla drives itself, but like really drives itself, where it has cameras and pays attention where it is and everything. Teslas really are only automated to be able to take you in the highways and change lanes safely and that type of thing. But you're supposed to keep your hands on the wheel. That's my public service announcement. If you happen to own a Tesla, keep your hands on the steering wheel, please, and stay in the driver's seat. Just saying. So, we don't need that stuff. Now, and the pandemic has shown us that it's going to be harder and harder to get jobs in the future. Think about it. Now that all the companies are allowing more and more for people to work remotely, that requirement where you live close to where you work goes away. It does. Because think about it. If you make, let's say, cool, you make big bucks, you make you make $70 a year. No, $70,000 a year, which that's awesome. And then they go out and they look for somebody who has the exact same skills you do, and they're willing to do the job for $50,000, and it doesn't matter where they live, anywhere in the country or perhaps even in the world, then wow, what are you going to do to differentiate yourself from others? You're going to have to, hey, thanks so much, Coffee Talk and Tech, for dropping by. Hey, so yeah, AI is definitely the biggest challenge that's coming to the American economy, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Examples of the past. So, for example, when automatic teller machines, I know these are things some of you guys probably never seen before because you can just pull cash back at the store, but automatic teller machines, people thought that tellers were going to go away and that banks were going to go away. But over time, what really happened is that ATMs allowed them to put banks in more places than they could before, and it actually wound up that more tellers were hired. So, and they built more banks. So it doesn't always have to be a bad story. It can be a happy story and a story that benefits everybody. You know, in the case of the Miso Robotics, the statistics on how many people a year are burned by fry cook grills and by the grease pits from cooking fries and stuff like that is actually kind of high. And so if a robot is doing the cooking, then you have actually prevented injuries. And so that's awesome. You are making the environment safe in that store, safer for somebody to work in. And so those are positive things that can come about from robotics and technology. Now, point is, you need to start thinking about the next 10 years. What are you skilled at now? And what can get you to be skilled get your skills to be future-proof? And obviously, if you've noticed technology, how long has social media been around? Not very. You see how quickly we went from no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, to wow, everything's social. How we went from cell phones to truly mobile devices to smartphones. Thank you, Steve Jobs. To smartphones. And we get to where, hey, I can now use my phone for directions. I can use my phone to deposit checks into my bank account. Technology is a beautiful thing. I can ask smart devices to turn my lights on in my house. Tell me what the weather is, or wake me up in the morning. Which, okay, so I had an alarm clock. I could have done that. So it doesn't take a genius to wake me up in the mornings. Maybe a stick to poke me with because I'm kind of a bear. But, I can wake up in the mornings. So all that to say, technology is coming for us. In my university classes, when I'm teaching, I tell my kids, hey, in the new world that we're coming to, you need to either know how to fix the robot or how to program the robot if you want to make sure you have a job in 10 years. And there's a lot of truth to that. But actually right now, the hottest jobs are data science, programming, and cybersecurity. Those 3 jobs right now will probably easily keep you gainfully employed the next 10 years. You will just have to keep up with the changes in technology that happen that are impacting your program jobs. And Python is awesome because you can use Python. It's a programming language, not just a snake, but it's also a programming language, and you can use it to do data science with and lots of other cool stuff. I love using a Raspberry Pi. I've done episodes about Raspberry Pi. This isn't it, but I've done several episodes about Raspberry Pis, and I'll probably have one in the future. All right, so all that to say, yeah, that's how it goes. Now, I want to say, if you want to follow me, I am on Twitter and I'm on Facebook at Tech Troublemaker. That's Tech Trouble MKR. Put that back up there again. There we go. Tech Troublemaker MKR. Because there's not enough letters on Twitter handles to be able to be Troublemaker. But that's how I'm spelling Troublemaker. That's how I am out there. So follow me on social media out there. And let's start with Chapter 2. I'm lucky because I'm the guy they call when the fiber optics needs to be spliced in the data ports. Do you do fusion splicing? Or how do you do I'll be curious to know how do you do that. Because we spent like $10,000 buying the thing to be able to do the fusion splice. That was really cool. Now I don't think it's but like $1,000, but anyway, really cool to be able to put fiber optic back together. There have been times when the company I work for has been affected because somebody out there somewhere way upstream cut 10,000 strands of fiber. It took them 2 days. The fusion spliced all that back. I don't even want to, I just feel horrible for the people that were trapped in that tunnel to do that work. So anyway, yep, that's awesome. Oh, hey Donna, what's my favorite thing about AI? My favorite thing about AI is I don't have to get up and turn the lights on anymore. I know that's messed up. It really is. I also like that I can set up routines and have my desk energize and all the lights come on and it's showtime and I'm ready to go and it comes on. So that's really cool. Yeah, fusion mostly. Yep, fusion splicing. That's really cool stuff. So, all right. Now, hey, by the way, this is a live version of the One Off Tech podcast, which is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, of course, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, any podcast platform you can think of. It's out there, and it's an audio version, and it usually has a little bit of bonus on it as well. And also, I always have my show notes at faithandtech.com. That's my website, faithandtech.com. Right after I publish the podcast episode, those show notes will be out there. And also, I put the show notes here on the live show. I thank you all so much that have come by so far. Next up, it is time for Chapter 2. Now, this is going to feel like I'm throwing you a curveball. But stick with me. I promise this is related. Chapter 2. So, right here, in 2021, poverty guidelines for 48 contiguous states and the District of Columbia. This is according to healthandhumanservices.gov. For a single person, if they make $12,880, they are poverty level or less. And family of 2, and family of 3, and family of 4, which is kind of our nuclear family, we call it, $26,500. So if they make that or less, then they are considered poverty level. And I'll have links to all this, of course. Now, the funny thing is, and there's many funny things here, but breaking out here, in the United States, right now, according to urban.org, 13.7% of Americans are at poverty or below. That's kind of shocking to me. And then the U.S. minimum wage is $7.25. Now, this is not about a minimum wage discussion. Keep with me. I promise there's a point here. It'll all make sense. I even have like pretty charts and graphs. It'll be amazing. All right. So let's say, for example, you're a single person. The average monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment was between $780 and $1,098 a month. This is according to World Population Review, which if you go there, it'll actually show you the average rent per state. Okay, so let's say you're a single person, 18 or over, alone, and you make minimum wage, $7.25 an hour, 40 hours, 52 weeks a year. You make 30. Why do I have that? That's actually incorrect. It's 15,000. Oh, see, I misplaced my numbers. Don't you hate when you do that? You do something, you do nothing. Let's skip it. Let's go to the family of 4. The show must go on. So let's talk about family of 4. 2 adults and 2 kids, and poverty level is $26,500. So let's say both adults work and they make minimum wage. So they'll make $30,160 a year. Rent. So let's say on the low end, the average rent is $784. Actually, though, if you have multiple bedrooms, it's going to be higher. You're not going to be able to get your rent for that low. How did my graphs get so screwed up? This is really tripping. All right, so let's go back. This is my family of 4. I need to fix that. This is a family of 4. Pretend that says family of 4 right there. All right, so they make $30,160 a year. Their rent for a 3-bedroom averages $1,098 per month. So $13,176 per year. And then groceries. On average, a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 kids will have $1,038.26 a month in groceries. Now, they can cut some corners, they can get that lower, but that's the national average. That means they went out to eat once a week. In this busy world we're in, people go out to eat at least once a week. And They will. So their food costs for a year $12,459.12. And so, wow. And then they pay $325 a month in utilities. So that is about $140 in electricity, gas, anywhere from $35 on up to $55, water, internet. So this is an average. We have internet because we just said earlier you can't live without internet in this day and age because your kids are going to school or you have a job that requires you to have internet. And so your utilities for the year, $3,900 on average. So that's assuming you have no medical bills, no car repairs, no surprise expenses. You literally, this is all you pay. You'll have $624.88 left. That's assuming everything went perfect and that you didn't owe anything extra. That's it. And since I screwed that graph up. Now, what will we do for work in the future? So the whole point, going back to the original screen here, everything's crashing at once. How cool that is. All right, Tech Troublemaker here. See, Tech Troublemaker. I'm causing trouble and I'm having trouble. It all blends together. It's amazing. So the point being, universal basic wage is this concept where you pay people a set wage every year, every month. So what happened? So back in 2019 in Stockton, California, they did an experiment with 125 people who were below the poverty line. And they gave each of them $500 a month. No restrictions, no requirements. Here's $500 a month. So it's theirs to do with whatever. So you probably say, well, what did they do with it? They go out and buy drugs or just go out and eat junk all the time? And no, in fact, those 125 people on average, lots of them were healthier, went to the doctor for the first time, some of them did, went to the dentist for the first time, some of them did. They also, some of them paid off debts. Some of them were able to take that money and allowed them to wait a little bit and find a better job that actually gave them a wage that took them out of poverty. And so, after all that, and so this program only lasted a year. And it was called SEED, Stockton Economic Empowerment Demonstration. And the cool thing is that after it was over, most of the people that were on the program still had those benefits they received by having that extra money. They weren't getting the extra money anymore, but they had made changes in their life because they had less stress, because they had money there for a year that allowed them to kind of pull themselves out of the pits they were in. And so that's an amazing development. A similar development was done in Canada about 7 years ago. There was a study there where they did the same thing for 4 years. And those people had similar benefits. Now, you're probably saying, well, here we are. You got restaurants can't get employees because, well, the unemployment benefits right now are extra. They're getting extra benefits right now, unemployment benefits, and they're having a hard time to get a job. That's not true for every person. And so, we have to put ourselves in people's shoes and say, okay, some people are indeed abusing the system, but there are other people who are benefiting from the system and are able to make life choices that they couldn't make before because of this universal basic wage. Now, why do I bring this up? If indeed by 2050, 1/3 of all working age men are not going to be able to get a job, what is society going to do to make sure that they can live and find better work and be employed? And it's going to involve changes perhaps in society, or maybe, as I said, everybody needs to work, to learn new skills and to program themselves to learn new things so that they can indeed continue to work. It's going to be a challenge. It really is. Now, the purpose of this episode isn't to solve any problems. The purpose of this episode is to make you think. Think about the future. And I can see that. Plus, it's about infusing the economy with extra money. It is. A stagnant economy is terrible for us. But what are we going to do in 30 years if indeed technology, AI, machine learning keeps moving so fast that we are not able to keep up unless we are constantly in a state of retooling ourselves and learning and being ready. And again, like I said, go learn how to fix the robots. Go learn how to program the robots. That's how we'll keep employed. Now, this episode, in the end, is probably wound up being too cerebral to be a great live episode. You know, I can't possibly go in enough detail in a short period of time to not bore you out of your mind at the same time. But I want to cover those top things there that we need to be aware that technology is indeed coming for us, but that we don't have to run in fear and we don't have to bury our heads in the sand, and that we can indeed do things to be ready for that. All right, so there you go. This was my special episode about our robot masters, AI automation, and the future of work. Just want to give you foods for thought. Hopefully you go away with that. Next week's episode will not be so serious. I promise. Next week's episode will be about Big Brother and my cell phone. So Apple is trying to protect our privacy, and Facebook is trying to steal it. And so we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Siri. I just don't know who you are anymore. Which, if you've updated to the latest version of iOS, Siri's not the same, and the original Siri voice is gone. We'll talk about that more next week, along with whatever tech news is in there at the time. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you again. Bye. It's a wrap. Thanks. Bye. Thanks so much for coming by. This is the One-Off Technology Podcast with your host, Roy Richardson. Each week we cover topics in the news and how they affect you. Sit back, relax, and open your mind. Great night, wherever you are, whatever time zone. Thanks so much for dropping by Coffee Tech, Talking Tech. Thank you. By the way, go subscribe to his channel. His channel's awesome. I watched the last episode. It was good. Good stuff. Thanks. Bye.